evening, everyone. Hope you are having a good time. First, I'd like to thank you for sharing next 15 minutes with me and my colleague Mitali. In our session today, we'll talk about how governance, risk, and compliance function can evolve to play a key role in making organizations cyber resilient, and how industry is evolving to extend GRC function from just being a compliance exercise to help share real insight with management, holistic insight with management, to enable them to take right decisions, prioritize it for the first line of defense to match the speed of threat that we experience every day.
So first of all, thank you so much. It's so great to see you all over here. Like Sabya mentioned, since the pandemic has struck us, we have seen cybersecurity attacks coming in. We have seen a lot of threats coming in, like ransomware attacks, you call it insider threats. All of that have increased. With that, what it means is that the cybersecurity and the GRC teams now have a dual role to play. They have to ensure business continuity, and they also have to ensure that their operations are going as usual, their businesses are going as usual, and their data of themselves and their customers is protected. It is time now when the organizations have to think of controls which can lead them to cyber resilience. So, let's look at the evolution of GRC. And sorry for that technical glitch that happened. Let's look at the evolution of GRC. So, businesses today do not function the way they used to do some time back. No more people are sitting, gone are the days where people are sitting beside a firewall in a closed perimeter and working on some certain data which is only accessible to certain insider staff. These days, the customers, the suppliers, the third parties, all of them have become your logical network extensions. They are your logical workflows. And they have the same data access which probably you all had at that time, which means that data has become the new oil, and data security has become of paramount importance. What it also means is that from network security, the focus has shifted to data security as of now. Compliance-driven GRC has moved to risk-focused GRC. And what we see as a future of GRC is that the GRC would be driven where the organizations would have a unified and holistic insight of the threat landscape of their organization. This will be a GRC, a future GRC, where it would be people-driven. People would become the perimeter. The concepts like zero trust, security by design, privacy, customer security, these would come into play. And risk agility and resiliency would drive the future of GRC. So we know that a lot of cyber attacks have increased. If you look at some of the breach data, whether it is Verizon Breach Investigations report, you would see that ransomware attacks have contributed the most. As a result, what has happened is that regulators are coming up with new regulations which are even more stringent. These regulations are even more sophisticated because they want to help us gain such knowledge that we can have controls in place which can help us mitigate risks in our organization. As a result of this, the compliance teams have a lot of challenges to face these days, getting the right resources, getting the right tools, ensuring that whatever controls are there, they are set up in the right way, and investments are going in the right direction. This means that it is time that they are looking for solutions which are holistic, unified, agile, and which can provide them a unified insight. So, Sabya, on that note, what are you hearing from the customers?
As a customer advocate, I have been talking to numerous leaders about their cyber risk challenges. And the interesting thing is, when I talk to cybersecurity leaders, I see there is a definite focus towards cybersecurity, and their cyber ecosystem is strengthening. When I talk to risk leaders, I see their risk program is maturing. When I talk to audit leaders, I see their audit program is maturing. But at the same time, when you look at the technology landscape and investment, there are countless point solutions available for different organization functions to choose for their respective problems they are looking at addressing. And we end up doing most of our spending on buying point solutions. The most worrying part here is these programs don't naturally communicate and integrate effectively, which leads to decision making in isolation without having a complete context of the problem in hand. I look at the problem as trifactor: expanding attack surface, disconnected cyber ecosystem, and organization silos. Let's reflect on these three challenges on how industry data is showing. Let's look at the data breach report. Data breach is on rise. It's increasing every day. When we look at the regulations, there is rapid change happening in regulatory environment. There are more than 70 to 80,000 regulatory events are being published every year. And more organizations are being tracked under this umbrella. When we look at the technology investments in GRC and cybersecurity, we all see the budgets are increasing and they're spending more and more. But it is clearly evident that siloed technologies or siloed solutions fall short of addressing the emerging threat landscape that we have today. What we look at if we look at holistically, the real challenge that we see is lack of unified visibility across the three lines of defense that we have for every organization, and lack of real-time risk insight to be able to make risk-based decisions. Let's talk about, from a practitioner perspective, when you are working with customers in addressing these challenges, what initiatives they are working on, what you are hearing, how they perceive this problem.
So I think this is a very interesting question, Sabya, and I was just talking about the ransomware attacks, and the same report, if you pick it again, you will see that 82% of those breaches involved a human element, whether it was use of stolen credentials or password misuse, any of those, you would see that it was the human element involved. And I'm sure pretty much many of you sitting over here would relate to this CISO mind map that we have tried to create. The CISOs of today, with the changing environment, with the remote working environment, they have a lot of challenges on their head that they have to cater to. Whether it is the new technologies that are there, whether there are the point solutions that are there is no unified holistic view of their landscape, which means there are fragmented views of the breaches, metrics, all of that data. So consolidating that, having a view where they can establish cyber risk resiliency is very difficult. It is leading to compliance fatigue. As a result of that, I think what the CISOs need to do is, one, they need to look at the current landscape, they need to assess their environment for the remote working, establish controls which can help them mitigate the risk associated with remote working. Also, what they need to do is, as a futuristic approach, they need to constantly revisit that risk assessment that they have done and constantly keep changing their security and risk programs, enhancing them to make it more data-driven and tech-enabled. Now, we spoke about challenges, we spoke about what people are hearing in the market, but how do we as practitioners, as the CISOs, as the cybersecurity team, how can we bridge this gap of security information and risk insight? Now, there are multiple ways of doing it, and one key thing that we can do is increasing awareness. I personally believe that security should be everyone's business. Everybody should be made custodian of security, right from the executive management to the lower level person who is working in your environment. So, once you have those kinds of employees, what happens is that risk is shared between the employees, and it's a consolidated view that you can have a look at all the risk insight within your organization. You would be able to prioritize the risk, you would be able to put in the controls which are there to increase the response agility of your organization. In a way, implementing tools which are tech-enabled, which are proactive, which are holistic, that will help you. AI, ML, all of these will help you achieve that kind of reliable risk insight. So, we spoke about all of that, and so when we look at some organizations generally feel, and there is a perception within the businesses that if we start working on risk mitigation, probably my businesses may slow down. Probably my day-to-day operations would slow down. But that's not the case. That's the reason why we came up with this maturity model to assess the organizations. If you look at this model, it starts with the ad hoc processes. So whether you are at the ad hoc process or the siloed process, moving from there to a more matured process, what it helps you is, it helps you make more business-oriented, risk-enabled decisions. If you are at that, if you are struggling on getting budget from the management, do risk assessment, and if you go to the management with those risk assessment results, it is easier to get those investments. And the whole idea of this model is that the 3 layers of defense, these 3 layers should talk to each other, they should work in conjunction with each other. It will help you gain proactive access, and in a way, you will get a holistic view which is timely, you will get a risk insight which is consistent, and that will help you in effective risk decisioning. So on that note, Sabya, I'll again turn it on to you, and I'll ask you that how can we, using this maturity model, help our customers?
Thanks, Mitali. I will not talk about any solution that we offer or services as a sales pitch. We'll talk about how we bring an holistic platform-led solution approach towards bridging the gap between security information and risk insight. Our cyber risk management platform, TrueOps, helps integrate all 3 lines of defense together and brings holistic risk insight for all lines of defense leadership team to look at and make risk-based decisions. We work with customers irrespective of their maturity and bring them to fast-track journey towards cyber resilience. If we look at overall GRC journey, which Mitali has talked about, GRC to integrated risk management, risk insight journey, we look at it in 3 building blocks. That's a journey that we talk about. If we look at the blue layer, which is all about GRC digitization, which is foundation to GRC journey, and getting rid of spreadsheets, getting rid of emails, and having everything at one place. When we look at the gold layer, that's where we help customers get to compliance assurance, where we bridge the gap between policy layer, which is GRC, to its implementation, which is cybersecurity controls. And this brings real-time visibility into how your security controls are performing on the ground versus how you have defined the policies, and help you make audit ready all the time. The green layer is the layer that we all are striving to move forward, where we transform the real-time insight into holistic risk insight for decision makers to make risk-based decisions. If we look at these 3 layers, if we go towards the path, it clearly binds all 3 layers of defense together and breaks the organization silos, which we talked about, which is a most critical thing. Cultural change is the most important thing in the organization. We see real-time risk insight leads to real-time risk remediation. That is the ultimate goal of integrated risk management, reaching to that level. The most important aspect that I see here for all of us to think about is the mindset shift. Are we doing security to secure the business and where it matters, or we are looking at security to be compliant and from a management perspective, from external auditor perspective? I think that is the thought process we all have to look at internally and see how we can evolve and do security to secure the business versus just doing security for compliance. We are almost at the end of our session. Before I go, I'll just quickly talk about who we are, what we do. We are full stack cybersecurity risk management provider, delivering advisory, implementation, managed services, and software to help customers identify, mitigate cyber risk, protect their cyber assets, and secure their business. We are in the business for last 25 years. helping our customers in their security, risk management, identity initiatives, and working with them in their journey, in this transformation journey, to bring more security and helping their business being more secure. We are not working with our customers in just finding a point solutions and implementing and moving on. We are working with our customers as a partner and being part of the journey.
So thanks everyone for your time today. It was a pleasure to speak to you all. We are here till the end of event. We would request you, I see a lot of known faces here, so we request you to please do come and visit our stall. We are here to listen to your challenges and help you with solutions if we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you.